Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk. I am here with the founding member of the Radical Registrars and the vice president of the Young Ambitious Activists, Miss Val, over here. Go ahead and say hello. So, everyone.
Hello. Hello, people.
And then, in addition, I am also here with a member of the Radical Registrars and a local community organizer here in San Antonio, Sir Brandon.
It's good to see everybody. Good to
Yeah,
be here.
yeah. So today we are here to talk about voting, specifically registering up to vote, what it means to vote, and how important it all is. I have a few questions of my own, and I know for you guys in the chat, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down there. And when we can, I'll go ahead and ask these two wonderful, informative people all about them. But I guess first off, just so everyone knows what you do, what is the Radical Registrars and what do you guys actually do?
Well, we just, in short, we get people registered to vote. Yeah, that's what we do. But we got together at the protest. We are all volunteer deputy registrars, and we got together at the protest, and we just get people registered to vote. We help educate them on how to vote informed, and then we help get them involved as well. We have Brandon, especially, has converted a lot of people from regular to radical. Have gotten them to become deputy registrars as well and have joined us. So we've grown exponentially since, the protest began, when it was just like 4 or 5 of us just running around like chickens with our heads cut off. And now we are, a group, and we have shirts, and we have an Instagram and a Facebook, and we get people registered to vote. We get them to become deputy registrars, and then we help them to vote informed by doing voting guides for not just Bexar County, but the larger counties in Texas, including Harris, Dallas, Nueces, El Paso counties. Did I say Travis, Harris, and Dallas? Yes. So yeah, so get people to vote informed as well. So that is what the Radical Registrars are up to.
Oh shoot, that's cool. How did you guys get started? If you don't mind me asking, I don't even like you guys met all that protest and stuff like that. How did you even get started or get the ability to register people for voting and all that stuff like that?
I mean, that was really it, Justice. I went out to my first protest, and I saw the amount of people there, and I was like, ooh, somebody should be out here getting people
Uh-oh.
registered to vote.
Okay.
And so I was told to go to the elections office. And so I did that before I went out to my next protest. And it was a trap. I couldn't just take forms and go get people registered, or just like somebody here, go out there and do it. So I became deputized. And then I literally found Cameron and Amy and Dana out there registering people too, and just linked up with them. And then we just kept growing. We just kept going out there, and then Brandon popped up, and we just kept growing. There was just more of us, and then like getting on the news outlets had people like reaching out left and right, and we've just grown so much from like the 4 or 5 of us to begin with. Now there's like 30 plus of us, registrars, able to go out to events, able to be places, at more than one event at the same day. So that's how we began.
It was a lot.
How do you remember it, Brandon?
No, that's about right. It's a lot like having all the ingredients just sitting there. We were all at the protest, all the very first protest. Some of us were already deputy registrars and just doing it on our own, but all the things were there. We had the people, the numbers were there. We had the enthusiasm. We had the vision of people like Val and Cam who said, we should do this as a group.
Right.
We should do it as individuals, just kind of in the background, but they came up with the vision to come up with a group, and now we get invited to community events. We meet people where they are. We go to housing all over San Antonio and register people there. And if we don't register them, we always leave them with something. So if they're already registered, we leave them with information on how to vote informed. So.
Wow, that's actually because in my head, I legit thought this was like something that was either you guys started and you guys went and got your you got deputized and all that other stuff, and then you started your own organization, or that you guys were part of the city And for some reason, that was my first like thought process is like, oh, these guys are an organization, part of the city and stuff like that, like a nonprofit organization, and they just send people out. Like that's how I thought it was originally done. Like every time I saw like a person trying to register someone or whatnot, this is just like, oh, this is just the city trying to make us do. This is the government saying do the census. This is the government saying register to vote and stuff like that. I didn't know that this is like something one anyone can do, and two, I didn't know you guys started your own organization through that. I thought you guys were already part of something. I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. So then I guess my question for you guys is, what would you say is how would you say for someone who wants to register to vote, how complicated or non-complicated is that process, and what do they have to do to register to vote, especially in these times right now with COVID, where mail-in registration is a little difficult and stuff like that?
Wow, it's a good question, Justice. So when we're out talking to people, meeting people, sometimes we'll have those few wary people like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have time to register to vote right now. I'll talk to you later. But we have to stop them. We let them know, like, you can register to vote in less than 2 minutes. I say a minute and a half because it literally takes a minute and a half to spell out everything. It's everything you know. It's your name, your address, and where we can mail your new application to you. We recommend getting your phone number so we can contact you if anything pops up. And your social, last four your social or your driver's license number. But I just want to remind people that if you don't have your social security card, or if you don't have a driver's license number, you can still register to vote. So I don't want anybody to think if they don't have these things, they can't register to vote. So it's really simple process. It takes less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's super simple. If you don't have somebody, if you're not out at an event, like with COVID going on, it's a little bit harder to do these pop-ups and just get people registered. But if you're not able to find an event or somebody that's a registrar, then you just go to your local, your county's local elections office in Bexar County. It's at 1103 South Frio Street, and you just go in and you just ask them to get registered to vote, and you can just do it right there. But like Brandon said, it's super simple, and I don't really take an excuse if I'm in front of somebody and I have my clipboard and I'm like, do you need to get registered to vote? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so here. Go ahead. It's right here. Yeah. Pen, ready, boom. So super simple.
So one of the experiences I've had when I've been registering to vote is I would actually show up at the poll offices to vote. And if I wasn't registered, there'd be someone there who says, oh, don't worry, we'll register you here right now on the spot, and you could still vote. Now, I know October 5th is the deadline to be a registered voter, but what about the people who like register people on the spot to vote in right then and there? Is that still possible? Are they still able to? Is their vote still count and stuff like that?
Right. So glad you brought that up. As far as I know, we haven't really done anything like that in Bexar County. But I will say I've seen sometimes that people be at the polls registering people to vote who aren't registered, might have thought they're registered. But like you said, the deadline is October 5th. So that is the last day to register to vote in this upcoming general election in November. Mm-hmm. So please make sure you register to vote before October 5th. However, like you said, Justice, sometimes there'll be people at the polls registering them to vote. However, their vote will not go towards the November ballot. You can vote in the next upcoming election.
Okay. So
yeah,
then
I've seen it because I worked the election. So I saw, people who thought they were registered or maybe needed to change their address or something. They were able to do that. But I had not seen anybody who just straight up was not registered at all be able to be registered and vote on the same day. I have not seen that.
Okay. I only asked that because that was a personal experience of mine. I remember I went to the poll one day to vote, and this was like right when I was in Texas. I just came back from California and stuff like that, and I was changing everything over, and I wanted to vote. So I went to the poll office to go vote, and I was like, shoot, like I'm not registered. And so they're like, don't worry about it. Here's a card. Fill out your information. They processed me, and then they told me to go and vote, and I voted right there on the spot. So I didn't know if you guys knew anything about that. I didn't know if what that meant, because now I'm like, oh, October 5th, there is a deadline. I don't know all of Texas's laws or any type of stipulations that they might have. But yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so then speaking of voting and going in to vote and stuff like that for ballots, I want to ask you guys, how important do you guys think it is to vote? I mean, obviously it is important, but like with everything going on with the elections, with like more and more people finding out how the electoral college works, and more people figuring out like they just vote on federal. Some people are saying it's not, our voices don't matter. Some people are saying that it's better to create public outcry and force people to do what we want to do rather than to vote, because voting doesn't really do a whole lot. What would you say to all of that? How would you say how important voting is?
Extremely. It's about power. And you see, I listened to this podcast not too long ago and got some great information from it. And it's pretty much saying that we need to see voting as a vehicle to get us from one point to the next. So from one, it's to cause less harm in our communities. And so people just need to think about their vote as like, you are participating in the decisions that are being made about your life. Like, we need to realize that the head of Bexar County Sheriffs, Javier Salazar, that's an elected position. The judges who prosecute, Black people are elected positions. The district attorney who decides cases to open or not open, that's an elected position. And if you think about who is in power and whose communities are not being harmed, those are the people who show up and vote every single time. We have to vote, and we have to vote locally. I like to use this for what happened in 2008. Black people showed up in astronomical numbers to get Barack Obama voted in. In Bexar County, 80,000 people who voted for Barack Obama the first time, who showed up to vote for him, they never voted again. But in 2010, there was another election, Obama lost the Senate. In 2014, there was another election, Obama lost the House. You cannot vote somebody in and then not vote in any backup. The president just cannot, flip a switch or, bop a wand and have all this magical stuff happens. They have to go through the House and the Senate. They have to go through, processes. They have to go through people. And if they do not have the majority, if they lose that majority, then there's not much that they can do. So that's how we need to look at voting, as who is in power and how do we get some of that power to cause less harm to our communities.
Damn.
She hit the nail on the head.
She just not only hit the nail, she nailed it all the way in.
Absolutely. And especially for younger people, sometimes we can see power or the power structure being this abstract thing. But like Val said, power is nothing but people. Power is our district attorney, our sheriffs, our judges. And if we can look at it like, right now, as young people, as a collective, it seems like we're like, hey, don't forget about us, vote, do things in our best interest. And a lot of times people in power, they'll turn a blind eye, they won't hear us. But if we vote in masses and we vote for people who's going to have our best interest at heart, we're no longer going to be asking, hey, make sure you give a seat at the table. We're going to be demanding, because we put those people in power.
Right.
It's important we vote up and down the ballot, not just in the White House. I mean, the White House is an important position, but our local elections, those are the people that affect our daily lives, our judges, our district attorneys, our sheriffs. Can't stress that enough, but please vote locally, vote for people who have your best interest. And also encourage young people to run for office themselves.
Yes.
If you see that sometimes candidates on the ballot don't have your best interest, next time run for office yourself. Be that change you want to see.
Yeah, we're gonna get Brandon in office next year. So.
I'll vote.
That's the goal.
Yeah, no, that's very, very important. Like, one of the things I always say is local elections is where it's at, because it's a trickle down effect. It's like, if we vote local, then those local officials, those constituents and stuff like that will vote for the higher office, the governor, and eventually the president. Because as the electoral college is, we all vote, but like from my understanding, there is a super delegate or something like that of that nature who actually votes for the state of Texas. He's like, okay, this is what everyone in Texas wants to do. I'm gonna go over here, and I'm gonna vote for this or this. And so yeah, so like local, like federal is great, and federal impacts like the nation as a whole. But federal's mostly, in my opinion, um, military, health, like for example the pandemic and stuff like that, resource management, whereas local is like that's what affects our daily lives, that's what affects every single aspect of what we do. It's the police force, it's the health department, it's the fire department, it's our construction, our education, our like every single thing that we use and we do on a daily basis. If we want a road fix, that's not federal, that's the state, you know. That's our city and their budget and stuff like that, which is again another thing that I know we have to like vote on, is not just the people we elect in office, but the policies and budgets that we elect into office as well. So I know that right now during the pandemic, I know that, and I got this from like both the Trevor Noah show, and I know you guys have been doing a little bit as well. But what does it mean to be a poll worker? I know poll workers are in high demand right now with everything going on. They're not really, there's not really enough poll workers to have everyone to. There's not enough poll workers right now to manage the massive waves of voters and stuff like that. So, what does a poll worker do? What is a poll worker, and how does one become a poll worker?
I'll let Valerie talk about that one.
Yeah. I was at the elections office earlier, you know, raising a little hell about this. But so how to apply to be a poll worker is going to your local elections office. Actually, in some counties, you can do it online. I just posted on the Radical Registrars Instagram page. I posted some links, not links, but I posted about how to be a poll worker in your county. I believe in Travis County, you can apply to do it online, but in Bexar County, good old Bexar County, you got to go in person and apply. You ask them for a application to be a poll worker, and they'll give you one. So to be a poll worker, what that job entails is, so I worked the election day for the runoff election. It's a long day. You're expected to be there by 6 a.m. and then you're not getting out of there until after 8 o'clock at night. So this wasn't as hectic as November will be. So I'm definitely giving you the kind of watered down version of what I experienced. But you do a training. It is a paid position in Bexar County as well. $15 an hour. But you do a training where you learn the equipment, how to operate it, how to set it up. And then, because it's COVID times, you're learning the health procedures that are in place. So one of my jobs was to watch people while they voted to make sure that they were using the eraser of their pencil as a stylus and not using their actual hand. And if they were using their hand, it had to have a glove on it. Masks were not actually required. There were only I think literally 3 people who opted to vote without a mask, but everybody else was considerate of everybody else's health and they wore a mask. But yeah, and then there's a job of sitting there and getting people checked in. So, making sure that they are, registered and doing that whole thing. So there's actually a few jobs that you do during the day. It was a very pleasant day for me. It wasn't that hectic, but November is going to be way different. It's going to be way busier. I'm sure there'll be no downtime. But yeah, it's a busy day. It pays. So if you have the flexibility to do it, please do. Young people need to get involved. I'm 32 years old. And, up until 2018, I was trying to leave it to the old people. And you see what happens when you leave it to the old people. That's who you have in office representing you. And I don't have anything in common with these older white gentlemen who are representing me. So yes, young people, please get involved how and where you can, and poll working is definitely step one.
Yes, please, I just want to say, please apply to be a poll worker, be an election judge if you can. Yeah. It's important because for 2 reasons. One, we've seen in Bexar County that if you don't have enough poll workers, they can close election sites, early voting sites, polling sites. And the first sites on those shopping blocks are always low income areas and high people of color areas. And we want to make sure that people of color and low income folks have access to vote like everyone else in this country does. Yeah.
Dang. I just want to add on to that because that was something I was completely unaware of, Brandon. Like the fact that like if there's not enough poll workers, if there's not enough people, they will literally shut down sites, and not only just shut down sites, they will specifically shut down specifically low income areas or places of color areas, and just flat out just shut them down. I was completely unaware of that. To double down. I would say it would be really cool to just get a group of friends and just be like, hey, we need a job. Let's go. How old do you need to be a poll worker, by the way? At least in the state of Texas, or I don't know in other states, but here, how old do you have to be?
You can actually do this in high school. You can actually be 16 years old and do this. It'll be another application process, but you could do it as young as 16. But for everybody else, 18 years old, and you have to be registered to get paid. You must be registered to vote in that county, but you can also do it not registered to vote, but you will not get paid. So yeah,
more
that's something that I just learned as well. But yeah, 18 years old. 18 years old and live in the county.
More incentive to register to vote then. I mean, literally registering to vote will get you paid. Do you guys not hear this? And other side note, Val, holy shit. I did not know you were 32. I literally thought you were like 24, 25 or somewhere close to my age. I was like, damn, okay, whatevs.
Gotcha.
Oh, also, one of my followers wants to let you know that you just nailed the head on the coffin. You're beautiful and amazing, and she just loves listening to what you have to say about all this stuff.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
She also says that she's as a person on the left and stuff like that, she thinks that which I guess is questioning if you guys want to comment on this, but she says it's incredibly frustrating to see people ignore the utility of voting down the ballot when it only serves to effectively disenfranchise themselves on important local issues. She says don't be like Joshua Collins in Washington and tank your campaign or something like that with policy unawareness or unaware decisions and stuff like that. I feel like that's more in tandem with what we see is like, yeah, vote all the way down the ballot, vote locally all the way down, because it is only disenfranchising yourself. It is only hurting yourself. If there's a politician you don't like, or you feel like all politicians lie or corrupt, like some of the people are telling me like, oh, all the politicians lie and stuff like that. I think one of the things that has been said over and over again during this conversation is the fact that if you feel that way, vote. Find a candidate that you can get behind or that you can support and vote for them. You know, do your research. And on that, I will say this: it's extremely exhausting to do research. As I found out recently, as I'm doing like my little project on defund the police and how to inform people in a way. I want to create like a video that will like educate people who are scared of that word, but research is, as I'm not going to lie, is a little difficult. Where can people find information, or what can people do to find information easily that's digestible? Because I can understand that there is so much to vote on a ballot, and knowing what to do and who to vote for and who's right can be exhausting, especially for someone who has a busy life. So I guess my question is, one, where can they find information if they want to stay informed about the local ballot and stuff like that? And two, where is an alternative place to find something that's digestible, or a breakdown, or if there's no such thing, I guess maybe we should create something like that. But yeah.
So I was struggling with the same question you just asked, Justice, and I happened to find this site that gives me the candidates' information, what position they're running for, the platforms they stand for, and it was the most easiest place I can find and digestible information. It was really good. I think it was called the radicalregistrars.com.
Oh, you got. Oh, look at the like, you got me. I'm all like, what is this magical place? What is this place? Because like doing research, going on the government websites, signing up for newsletters. Like, this is a lot of work to figure out. And then you're just like, there's a simple place where all of the information is there.
Yeah, I found all of it. Valerie, you want to talk about it? I know it was a great place that I found it.
Yes, lucky for you guys, Mama Val over here was just like, you know what, y'all ain't gonna do the damn homework. I know you're not going to do the homework. So I just decided to do it for you. We decided to do it for you. So we did voting guides for the runoff election. And I'm happy to say that the Bexar County one for November is done. So we did, so Bexar and Cameron counties are finished. They are on the site. So you can go to tinyurl.com/RR Texas. That'll take you straight to the link. That'll have the voting guides on there. You can follow us at radical_registrars, SATX. That's our Instagram. And then our Facebook is Radical Registrars. But yeah, we compiled the ballots. It's nonpartisan. So it has all the parties on there, Dems, Republicans, Green, Libs, everybody who was on the ballot and had information online that we can find about them. We put it all in one place for you. So we did it for you. And so, being 32 and being just completely transparent and honest, myself, I was going to insult myself, but myself, I used to go in there and I would vote and I'm like, Railroad Commission, what the hell is that? And just pick like a nice name, or I would just skip it, constable, stuff like that. But now, voting informed, I know that I can take a sheet of paper to the polls with me. You cannot rely on your phone, but you can take our voting guide, or after going through the voting guide, write down who you want to vote for and take that with you. You cannot have your phone while you're voting, but you can have a sheet of paper so you can vote informed. Or like I said, take the voting guide with you. It has the candidates' pictures, platforms, everything that you need to know about them. It's on there. And so we did the homework for you when it comes to that. So Bexar, Travis, Harris, Dallas, El Paso, Nueces, Cameron counties, we got y'all covered. And if you don't live in those counties, because those will be specific to your ballot, so it'll have all of them, federal, state, and local. But if you're not in those counties, you can still use the voting guide for the federal and the state ones. Those are going to be the same wherever you are in Texas. So please, please, please utilize it. It's boring, but we did it for you. So use it, please.
I'm shocked. I was like, holy fuck, that is crazy. Sorry. That was a lot. That was quite a lot. I feel like there's just a little bit of a clap for all of that. Okay, so I got a question about mail-in voting, and like the way, because I know we were just recently out fighting for the post office and stuff like that because of all of the stuff going down with them. And I know mail-in voting is one of the biggest concerns right now for a lot of people who, maybe paraplegic and can't get out of the house and stuff like that. And so they rely on mail-in voting. Some people who are within COVID times don't want to leave the house. I'm one of those people that's like very reluctant to leave the house. And the only time I do is to go protest. So like mail-in voting is a very important thing for a lot of people. What can we do to either combat that? What does it mean for voting for the future, especially this upcoming November election? And what is actually going on with mail-in voting in general?
Wow, it's a big topic. That is a big topic.
Yeah,
I guess the way I'll approach this is, if you live in Texas and you would like to request a mail-in ballot, there's a couple ways you can go about doing that. You can go to the Texas Secretary of State's website and look for the mail-in ballot side, and you can request it there. You can go into your local elections office and request a mail-in ballot application there as well. There are a few stipulations you have to fill out when you're requesting a mail-in ballot. One is if you're disabled, if you're 65 years or older. So for younger people like ourselves who may have prior health conditions but are not 65 years or older, you can use any reason you feel would stop you or prevent you from going out voting safely as a reason to request a mail-in ballot. Unfortunately, COVID alone, so if you just say COVID, that will not count as a reason to get a mail-in ballot. But if you have any other pre-existing conditions, along with a fear of COVID, you can request a mail-in ballot. So I'll take that approach.
Yes, no, I agree. I reposted something that the League of Women Voters, shout out to the League of Women Voters. They've been hitting me up since all this began, and we've been working with each other. But yes, I reposted something today. So with mail-in voting, you can vote by mail if you're 65 or older, sick or disabled, or you're going to be out of the county during early voting and election. Remember, early voting in Texas is October 13th through the 30th, and that includes those Saturdays. But it says, per the Texas Secretary of State, that the election code defines disability as a sickness or physical condition that prevents the voter from appearing at the polling place on election day without a likelihood of needing personal assistance or of injuring the voter's health. So anything that you think is going to put your health at risk is a reason for you not to vote in person. And that's not on an election official or a registrar to investigate. So that's another thing. So,
Okay.
take that.
So then, another question is voter suppression. So this is I know we're talking a lot because voting. I realized when I was like writing down the questions when I was doing a little bit of the research and stuff like that, and it wasn't much research. I'm heavily relying on you guys, but when I was writing down the questions and when I was seeing all the stuff going on with voting, I didn't realize how dense and how complicated it actually is, because it's voting. It sounds simple enough, right? It's just you go, you get your little card, you register to vote, minute and a half, 2 minutes max. You go, you vote up and down the ballot, wish wash, done. But apparently there's like a lot of complications around that. One of the things that I found out was that one, voter fraud is like a lot of cases of voter fraud were like turns out to be clerical errors, but voter suppression, on the other hand, is something that is widespread, has so much evidence and things behind it, but like a lot of people don't really register it as voter suppression. So I was wondering if you guys could enlighten everybody here. Because yeah, it's from what I understand it, there's like been like, for example, when the Jim Crow laws were around, what they would do is they would have basically people of color or black people take IQ test or random impossible questions that didn't have any tangible answers to them. They made all of these obstacles, addresses, phone, like things that other people won't have. So yeah, I'll let you guys take the floor on this one.
Wow, that's a big topic. Okay, I'll put it like this. You talked about how in the Jim Crow era, people of color, especially black people, have to take a test. A lot of times there would be unanswerable question: how many bubbles are in a bar of soap? How many jelly beans are in this jar? Guessing questions essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And there are still holdovers of that here today. When you apply to be a deputy voter registrar,
Mm-hmm.
you train to be a deputy registrar, but there's a test involved as well. So explain to me why there are a few answers on that test that can't be found in the book. Like, it's an open note test. However, there are a few answers in that test that you cannot find in the book. You have to just know it. That's a holdover of the Jim Crow laws, if you
Brandon?
ask me.
Okay, there you go.
Another example of voter suppression. Yeah, if you want another example of voter suppression, explain to me why in Texas you can take a handgun license as a acceptable form of ID to go vote, but a college student can't take their college ID to go vote. If you ask me, that's voter suppression. And then another example is just what we talked about earlier, how if there aren't enough poll workers, the first places to go to be taken away are low-income places and black and brown areas. So those are all, parts of voter suppression. It doesn't have to be a violent form of oppression or suppression for it to be those things.
Yeah, just to build off of what Brandon said, voter suppression, it does start with us actually. Today, when I went to go turn in my forms, like the amount of time it took for the lady, because the process goes, you turn the forms in, she goes to the back, she counts them, she makes sure they're good, comes back out so I can signature and sign off, gives me more to replenish what I just gave, and then leave. For one, they're not even trying to give you enough forms. Like it's going to be like pulling teeth whenever we have our event to get like more forms on hand, for an event. And then also like this lady with doing her job, turning in my forms, she gets caught up doing other things. So I'm standing here waiting for no reason other than hopefully, like I'll just get annoyed and leave or something like that. Like I couldn't even tell you. And still, in speaking of, deputy registrars and voter suppression. So I went to turn in some forms last week and was almost stripped of my deputization because I was turning in a form for another county that literally they would just put in the mail and send to that county. It is not a big deal at all. They're literally going to mail it, but they were ready to strip my deputization for that. Luckily, I was deputized in the county that one was going to, and I just missed it. But yeah, like we have to be on our P's and Q's, even turning stuff, even getting voter registration forms turned in. Like the person will not be penalized, but we will. So and yeah, and Texas has passed some of the most strict voting laws. I forget why, but a few years ago, something went down. And then immediately after that happened, Texas decided to enforce some stricter voting laws. So it's just very important to remember to vote. And that's another thing with working the polls, seeing young people, seeing people who are a reflection of you, that you're less intimidated to ask a question if you're doing things right or whatever the case may be. It's helpful because the average age of a poll worker is 70 years old. And and so like my experience is to feel like a little intimidated or feeling like you're doing something wrong, or they'll get snippy with you or something like that if you're not, like you're just supposed to know like how the elections and stuff are supposed to run, as a voter who just goes in every 4 years, which is a reason why we need to vote more and vote locally. So you know what's up. Like, so somebody's not telling you the rules, so your rights. But when you go and vote early. That's the best way to stop voter suppression, is to vote early. Another way to stop voter suppression is if Black people and people of color would just show up to vote. We would overwhelm with our votes, that voter suppression would just be, I can't think of the word, obsolete. But voting early is definitely going to help. I'm going to be the person looking at people on October 14th like, why haven't you gone to vote yet? Like, I'm going to be judging you. I can't help it. I was raised this way. But yes, you're going to be judged and shaded, especially going into week 2 of early voting. What are you doing? Early voting means you can vote anywhere. Anywhere it says vote here, go there and vote. So it's convenient for you. I believe election day might be the same, but if not, just to combat it, early vote. Go vote early. Please, please, please. You can vote anywhere it's convenient. Did I answer the question, Justice? I feel like I went on a tangent.
You went on a little bit of a tangent, but I like that. I like the fact that you're like, listen, everybody who's watching this, if you don't vote, Mama Val's gonna judge you. She's eyes on you, eyes on you. Yeah, no, it was mostly like, yeah, you both, you and Brandon, kind of answered the question of like voter suppression and what it means to like throughout this whole conversation, like I like piecing it all together for everyone at home who got overwhelmed with all that information, is basically like what's going on with voter suppression is for example the fact that if we don't have enough poll workers, the first thing they close down are low income and places of color. Like that is a form of voter suppression, stuff like that. The district lines, stuff like that, making it hard for mail-in voting. Like both Brandon and Val said, it doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be so obvious to be voter suppression, because that's how racism works in general too. It doesn't have to be obvious. It's not meant to be obvious. It's meant to be subtle. It's meant to disguise itself as something normal other than what it is. So then, going through all of that, what has it been like for y'all? getting people registered to vote? What was the runoff voting like? Like, what has your experience with all of this been?
Um, I was about to say we had nothing but positive experiences, but that's not quite true. But for the most part,
For the
uh,
most part.
we've had nothing but positive experiences. Since the runoff election, people have been super excited to either be involved with us, work with us. Like Valerie said, many people want to be trained to become deputy registrars themselves. So they can register other people. People are excited to register to vote for the first time. It's been great. It really has been. That one part where it wasn't so pleasant is Valerie and I. We had the police called on us. Why did we
What?
have the police called on us? For registering people to vote.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And
It's just
that goes back to voter suppression. People have literally died
Yeah.
registering people to vote. Um, but one more point: Texas. A lot of people think of Texas as this solid red state, one of the most reddest Republican states there is, and at one time that might have been true. But if you look at the polls since 2016, Texas is considered leaning Republican. It leans, it's likely to go Republican. That's embarrassing for the other side. But if every eligible black, brown, and young voter turns out to vote in this election, Texas will no longer lean Republican. It will be a solid toss-up state. It'll be a swing state, which will be interesting to see. So,
wow.
if you like to see Texas a swing state, please go out and vote.
Yes,
I
if
mean,
every college age person voted, the country would be blue. Like the entire country would be blue. So, yes, we really, really, really need young people, black people, people of color show up and vote. Yeah, it definitely got the police called on us. It was just as it was as ridiculous. Like we were so lucky to have the officer who showed up. We're so glad he showed up and it wasn't an idiot, because we were being accused of selling food um, in front of a restaurant. And then he was saying that like we were like blocking an entrance into a business that was not a business. Like I had it recorded. Brandon was like, "That business, the one with the chains on the door." I see.
that it's just that sounds so absurd. Like it's one of those things where it's like again, like before we started and stuff like that, I was saying like for a lot of people, including myself, some of the things you hear, it just sounds absurd. So, I started this to like ask questions, figure things out. And having gone out and experienced these things, yes, to everyone watching, it is absurd, but it is reality. It is mind-boggling because when you experience it, you're just like, it's like your head does a 180 and then does another 180 to get back right on track so you can process what just happened. And it is insane. It truly is. I just want to say real quick, for anyone who's watching and stuff like that, I know we're in COVID times and stuff like that. One of the best things I could say is go to a Black Lives Matter protest. See for yourself. I mean, we can harp and talk all day, but if you go out to one of these protests, just one, even like one of the more mild, peaceful ones, you will see some stuff where you're like, okay, I see what's going on here. I understand what's going on here. And you will see for yourself how crazy things actually are, even in a mild sense, how like absurd some of the things that people do, people say, what people think. It is just kind of like, but why? We're out here trying to get people to vote. We're out here just trying to make sure people live. We're just out here trying to make sure people get fed. So I guess one of my questions is what is our role? Us, the collective people who are not registrars, stuff like that. What is our role in this election? What is our role right now? And then what would you say your guys' specific role is for, like getting registered people to vote and stuff like that? But yeah, what would you say our role would be?
Definitely make voting a family or friend affair. Like, do not go and vote alone. Like, if you can, take at least 1 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 people with you. Like, make it a group thing. That's definitely helpful. Is just getting other people excited about it too. You know, like I've been blessed with the gift of gab. So if you tell me something, I'm gonna tell to everybody. I'm getting better about not telling people personal business, but like with the tidbits, the needs to know, I'm gonna spread it like wildfire. And this is one of those things where it's like if you have a friend who's like, you know, I don't vote. It's like, yes, you do, and yes, you will. You're going to do it this time around. Also, you know, some people, they get discouraged to vote. It is COVID times. I know, like my sticker expired in March. I'm not going to be worried about that till next March, to be honest. But like with people's IDs expiring, you can vote with an expired ID. If you're a young person, your ID can be up to 4 years expired. We're like elections offices, like we're not like, you know, actual deputies. Like you're not going to get in trouble showing up with an ID that's a little bit expired. So, you know, it's spreading this information that you're learning, being a resource, you know, to your friends and your family and your community, and letting them know that this is how they can get involved, is showing up and then talking to them about being a poll worker or being a deputy registrar. And if they don't want to do it like that, they can donate, they can do something else, but just voting. Step 1, get registered. Step 2, follow Radical Registrars so you can know who you're voting for. Step 3, go and vote early. We vote October 13th through the 30th. That's when we vote.
Same. Also, when if you're one of those people that doesn't like voting, get it done. Early voting. That's what it's there for. Get it done when you can. Real quick, because I just realized we touched on how young you have to be a poll worker. We didn't actually touch on how young you have to be to register to vote. How young can you be? Do you have to be 18? Or when's the earliest someone can register to vote?
17 years and 10 months of age.
As long as you're 18, the day of election day.
Yes. Got to be 18 by November 3rd of this year, but we can get you registered by 17 years and 10 months. I have not done the math on that to know exactly which day that'll put you out for your birthday. I don't have time for that, to be honest.
Brandon's doing it in his head. He's all like, I'm going to do some quick math real quick.
Never mind.
Carry the 2.
Carry the 3 and the 4 and the 5. So I guess, that's pretty much all of my questions. A lot of people seem to be agreeing with you. A lot of people seem to be really against aggressive like tactics and disenfranchisement. So a lot of people just really like hearing what you guys are saying, and they would love to hear more, I guess. Like if you guys want to talk about other stuff as well, that's the general consensus I'm getting right now. Is they're just like, these people are really informed, have them on. I'm like, okay, I don't know. I'll ask. But what?
Yeah, if I could add something, I realized we didn't touch on this yet, but very important. Me and Valerie, we spread this all over the place. If you are formerly incarcerated person,
oh yes,
a former felon, as long as you are completed your sentence, you're off papers, meaning you don't have parole, probation, you don't report to anybody, you've completely finished your sentence, you can register to vote, and you can go vote. There will be no repercussions. You are completely free in the state of Texas to vote if you completely finish your sentence on a federal level. So there's been a lot of questions about that, so please know, I'm going to say it again, if you're completely done your sentence, you are not on probation or parole, you can register and you can vote. And we encourage you to do that, please.
Absolutely. Like your vote matters most. Like you've been in the system, you see what it is on the inside and the outside. So your vote really, really matters. So we can know who needs to be voted out, who needs to, who can stay, who needs to go. But please, please, please do not count yourself out. Like, just try, get registered. If that voter registration card comes in, great, you can vote. Like the only thing that'll come from it is you're not registered to vote and you can't, but at least try. Please try.
Yes. Real quick, I just want to touch on 2 things before we close out. And if there's anything you guys want to add on, that would be great too. But my 2 things are, one, if you are not in Texas or if you're not in San Antonio specifically and stuff like that, but you do want to take action and trying to encourage people more to vote, I say hold an event. One of the things that I would love is if we made a holiday out of voting, or holidays, like make it a 3-day holiday of voting where people, like, there's things are just closed down, banks are closed down, just everyone goes and votes. Or if you guys can, set up events at polling areas. If you know where a polling area is, set up an event, get people out, make it a thing, make it a fun thing that you will remember, rather than something that you're forced or have to do. And touching on that, I know you guys have an event coming up pretty soon. Do you guys want to talk about a little bit about that and what actually is going to happen and what that entails?
Yes, so National Voter Registration Day is Tuesday, September 22nd. And so Radical Registrars and Move Texas, we are throwing a block party style event at Travis Park in San Antonio from 5:30 to 8:30. There will be a booze bus out there. There will be food trucks. There will be surprises, games, a lot of fun stuff going on. And most of all, you'll have the opportunity to just go out, have a good time, and get registered to vote. So like you'll knock that out in 2 minutes, and then the rest of your time there, you'll just be having a good time, hanging out with your friends, COVID safe, masks are required when you're not drinking or eating, cover that yap, cover that nose. But yes, like please, please, please make sure you come out, bring your friends, make it a group thing. All of y'all get registered to vote at once. Boom, the whole crew. But yes, that is Tuesday, September 22nd from 5:30 to 8:30 at Travis Park. And please, please, please make sure you're following Radical Registrars on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated with election educational information. I post your early polling sites, your early voting dates and times. I post all that good stuff for you. I'm just making it as easy as possible.
You literally have no excuse, is basically what she's saying.
None at all.
And yeah, I guess that finishes off the thing. We know where to find you: radicalregistrars.com, Radical Registrars on Instagram, Radical Registrars on Facebook, Radical Registrars in general, everywhere. Just Google that shit. If you don't have the social, just Google that. And yeah, any final words, anything you guys want to say before we all head off?
If you want Radical Registrars where you live, hit me up and let's make it happen. It's super easy, super simple. We'll get you some shirts, we'll get you started, but we need Radical Registrars everywhere because yes, we have this election in November, but then in Bexar County next spring, we have some more elections coming up. I know we have our mayoral election is coming up in May, which is very important, especially depending on what Ron does with this budget. So now is the time to earn the black vote.
I'll leave you with a quote from James Brown. Simply, get up, get into it, and get involved.
I love that. All right. Thank you guys so much for being on here with me. Thank you guys so much for talking about just voting in general and how important it is and the complexities of voting. Hopefully we get to have you guys on again, but if not, you guys can follow them. Just follow them. If they're not on here, go follow them on Instagram. Harass them. Let them know, hey, I want Radical Registrars in my area too. Get excited. And like I said, we have an event September 22nd. Make it a national event. Like, do it in your area as well. Like, we're doing it here, but there's no reason why it can't happen anywhere else. And if you do that, then we make it a national event. We encourage a lot of people. We get a whole bunch of people to vote, and we flip all of this mess all the way around.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us, Justice. Thank you to everybody listening. Thank you so much. I am at Val Wow Bladow on Instagram if you want to follow, because then I'll just get you hooked up to Radical Registrars like that as well.
And Brandon, where can we find you?
Literally, I'm all over. If you follow Val, you'll find me. If you get a chance to go out in the state of Texas, literally, there's a good chance you'll find me anywhere in the state of Texas.
you're like Waldo, or you're like Carmen San Diego. You just pop up everywhere.
I'm all over.
San Diego.
All right. Thank you, Val. Thank you, Brandon, so much. And with that, guys, I will see you next time.